disconnected timeline.
Right. This is,
Either it's ignorant or they purposely know it's backwards and they're still doing
but this is where we come into picture.
it. Mm-hmm.
We're Basus. Well, if we understand how we represent, you know what I'm saying? We represent, that the best energy. You know what I'm saying? And that's the thing people don't understand. Like, they mad at 19 kids now.
Yeah, I was going to get to that one next. So
You know what
now
I'm saying? Because
it's a situation where they're taking him out of
right.
the silly hidden colors 6-1 because he spoke his opinion when asked how he felt about the way FBA has been behaving.
Yeah,
And
and
people,
essentially, like, who's the main guy? And when you look at it, I mean, but somebody has shown, like, that Tariq was the one that had the trademark of the name, or like, and all of that. So
yeah, I
everything
remember
is
it being connected to him.
yeah,
I
everything
do
is like
remember
linked
that.
to him. You
And
know
then
what I'm
he said
saying?
he wasn't.
But it was showing and proved that you know a different thing. You know what I'm saying? Maybe people haven't gotten around to that, but that was showing and proved. So it's just an anti-African. Now it's just Africa came to invade the Americas and steal our birthright.
I don't think 19 Keys said anything wrong, and I don't think the president of Ghana said anything wrong.
No, the president got it.
You know, and when
Now,
you understand business and economics, you could understand why he would bring that concern. Not only just because he feels like it was wrong, I think he also understands that if we get our due just, then we can make better trade, better import export with the African diaspora in America, the African diaspora on the continent. You know what I'm saying?
well, Africans have been just like how brothers and sisters here have been, like, essentially, I guess you could say, reorganizing themselves because they've been under a spell. They're realizing how all our culture is valuable and things of that nature.
But I don't think
They're
that the president was saying that because now he wants to put his hand in the grab for reparations. Because if that's the case, all the African countries could sue Europe and America for slavery too.
well,
They can ask for
of
reparations
course,
as well.
of
If
course,
that was his intent, he could have been done that. Ghana would have been said, U.S., Belgium, France, England, whoever, you are responsible for the enslavement of this particular country on the continent, and you owe us reparations. They never went to a forefront like that, like how they're doing for us. So I personally don't think that he is trying to take our reparations because he can't get it
he
anyway.
can't. Right, he can't make
Even
the
if he
claim. He
was
can't.
thinking that,
He's
he's
not.
not
It's
going
not
to
his
get it.
responsibility to make the
No,
claim.
he's not going to get it.
You
But
know
he
what I'm
can
saying?
speak on our behalf like, yes, that was the gravest crime against humanity. Like, y'all need to know this.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying?
And so
this ain't about what him trying to get money. This is about what you did.
Right. And then with the U.S. stating the position, black folks, no matter what, because a lot of black folks got on the Republican train, and I will say that some of the policies are necessary. You know what I'm saying? Just like some of the things that we see in Maha that's being done with um, Kennedy. You know what I'm saying? Right now, in effect, there's things about to kick in effect about you can't have these dyes and stuff like
that. Of course not.
You know what I'm saying? So,
America's big on that, putting artificial stimulants
they've been poisoning
and retardants and chemicals in the food.
All this stuff has been affecting the American people. You know what I'm saying? So stuff like that is, we can rock with that. You know what I'm saying? But a lot of people, they don't even listen enough to kind of hear each other out to understand.
Because that cognitive dissonance.
But there's also the two wings and one bird aspect.
It's on their mind.
Although there's certain things that will within the politics work for the people. Just have to understand that they're just everybody's being played. You know what I'm saying?
So anyhow, that part of the equation is definitely not right. And I think that the only way it's going to get right is if not only just having this little conversation, but, the The same way you got people on YouTube making stuff about what the president did and he's trying to steal money. We got to come and bring the truth. Like, no, he didn't. No.
Yeah, and there's channels.
We have to continue on bringing the truth, no matter what FBA want to try and do, what they want to say.
Well,
we have a duty to correct that if we know something that they're saying and doing isn't correct.
Right now, the whole world is online, has technology because of commerce. And the child slave labor and sex trafficking, not just sex trafficking, the child slave genocide to get these resources are still going on. They're not being spoken about. You know what I'm saying? Even FBA, they're not even taking out a lot of them. And FBA is a small minority. We have to be mindful of not labeling all Black Americans. Because all Black Americans.
No, when I say FBA, there's different parts of FBA too, because some FBA don't agree with a lot of the things that Tariq Nasheed be doing, like when he's, taking time out
but they
to
agree
argue with
the
people and calling them tethers and,
Right, that whole stuff is just
when he goes into the cracking jokes and I'm not laughing, it's not funny.
Right, it's not, because
this is like 50-something years old and you're sitting behind the screen making fun,
have we done that? Like,
right.
You know what I'm saying?
And with the mere fact that you got people that follow that and jumps on the bandwagon, though.
I will say that because of what actually happened to immigrants that came here from the attitudes that they received from Black Americans. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Black Americans have to understand that they were harassing people. They were making fun of people. Mm-hmm. They didn't welcome them in like this and they did. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. The people had to adjust. And as they adjusted and, got the strength within themselves to organize or whatever, that's why their communities flourish, because they're working together. You know what I'm saying? And so they had to go through struggles of becoming American. You know what I'm saying? But you had a lot of Haitians that were afraid to identify as being Haitian. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Because of all the pressure and the stuff that was associated with that. Same thing with Jamaicans. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. You had some Jamaicans that was, so everybody went through it in their own,
it goes on both sides, though. Way. Because they have a term for African Americans when they say Yankee. Well, Jamaicans hold that to the heart. And when you explain to them, I'm not a Yankee, the Yankee and this and that come from blah, 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 they still got it in their mind from their home. Before they even came to any England, America, whatever, they still got it. It's in the home now. It's in the mind. Like, yeah, they're Yankees.
Well,
but not
is
really
the Yankee,
properly.
Did they always call them Yankee? Or was that a
recent? I don't know.
I think it's more of a,
I know when my mom was coming up, and she was born 57. I'm coming up, my children. So it's been that Yankee term that they came here with from Jamaica. That's what I'm saying. Right. I don't even care how old the term is. I'm just saying that they have names that they called us, like we had names to call them. It was both ways doing it.
I don't think
you didn't. It's not like it's not like you came here and was like open arms. Nobody was open arming nobody, because every side is conditioned. Every side is whitewashed there to a certain degree. Every side.
Yes.
You may have small groups of people, like in DC. I hear stories where like we grew up around Caribbean people, blah blah blah, and we got along. Then you hear some horror stories.
Right.
Your story might be a horror story, but somebody else's story might not necessarily be a horror story. I think it's just the mindset and the environment of the people that you're around, and if their parents is saying it, if their parents use it in their word, their children are going to grow up hearing that word, and they're going to get to a point in their life where they can decide, where they know that if I use it in this way, it's hurting. If I use it in that way, they might not be so offended. Well, same way when we say African booty scratcher or something like that. But then white people will turn around and call an African American an African booty scratcher. So these terms are European words to make us use against each other, to put each other down.
We've been parroting it.
To put each other down, right. And it feels good because we can put somebody down because we are already down. So yeah, we're going to take advantage of that term that's been passed down through generations, stemming from slavery, of course.
Well,
because all of these little terms, all the motherfucker, fuck you, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
those are not our languages. That's not our terms. Those are European dialects, European pronunciations.
European expression.
Exactly. I mean, we may have a word in African language, Swahili, that says "fu," but it doesn't say the word "fu." It says something else.
Right. Well, that FUCK stands for fornication under the king's consent.
Right. Yeah, and I forgot that. You just reminded me. Exactly.
Under consent for the king.
What does it say it again?
Fornication under the consent of the king.
So the king gave them permission to just have different wives and girlfriends, or one wife and many girlfriends.
Well, I mean, I don't even think there's no spirituality with the word fuck.
Right.
I mean.
So I doubt if that was our word first.
No, it's not our word first. You know what I'm saying? Because with that energy has a when we made love or created love, you know what I'm saying? That's a whole different energy. It's not to say that you can't be on some fucking shit, and we don't have to use the word fuck. You know what I'm saying? But the whole like love and sex in the European mindset. I mean, love is a word for sex. And we've adopted, hey, give me that loving. That good, that real good loving.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we've adopted that in, you know, in certain ways. Even though our ways of loving was different. But the more we became in their ways, we developed their ways. You know, so
even before any like fluctuation of Jamaicans, Haitians, Puerto Ricans came to America, we seeing it on television, not in such a beautiful way.
Right. And
who
controls television?
That's my whole point. So we see in Haiti, the zombie look like this, the zombie look like that.
Right.
We didn't have the real background of the Haitian zombie story, unless you saw Circle of the Rainbow and then did more further research or whatever.
Right.
That's the only way. But other than that, if we just looking at that television, it's showing us a bad person in a zombie state killing this white lady in those black and white zombie movies. Yes, I used to watch them. And the color too, but the black and white was the first ingrained that put in my mind like, oh, that's bad, that's bad. But then as I get older and I'm hearing the pastor's wife say one day how it's good that we went through slavery because we were in Africa doing voodoo. So that's why God made slavery happen. And it never sat right with me. Me being a young teenager, it never felt good, her saying that. So even over time, you know, I'm like, okay, this voodoo thing is not really what I've been told. You know what I'm saying? It's a good and bad in everything, in Christianity, you know, even Islam. So I started looking at it from that perspective. If I can pick out the bad in Christianity and I'm going to church, then I should be able to pick out the bad and the good in any system. You know what I'm saying? Because there's a balance at the end of the day. That's why you got your set, you got your Haru. You know what I'm saying? Anyhow, that's what we see. And then what we see, we regurgitate it because we took that TV for the truth. That was our only activity for recreation most of the time.
Okay, quick check-in.
Was the TV.
So the bus that we need to catch is at 7:15.
By the way.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. When are you gonna let me know?
I told you that we need to be having this conversation on a live stream, so I just plugged it in.
I didn't know.
Yeah, we're on a live stream now. Because I thought that conversation we had should be voiced right now for people to hear it. And maybe even comment in the chat or come on the panel and give their expression about it. Because it is something to talk about. The different culture clashes. As we grew up, we weren't nice to each other. You know what I'm saying? We found ways to hurt each other's feelings. And we're doing that because we're living in this patriotic European mindset that Urugu took over.
Well,
And not
I'm not.
everybody can break out of Urugu. That
Well,
thing have you thinking you living the life while you're around here, like Trump, for instance. You know what I'm saying? The Urugu is something serious, and a lot of black people have that disease.
well, everybody has it
All
because
right, but I'm just talking
every
about a
and
particular topic, which is when Caribbeans or people from the continent came to America,
right.
the
So
African
when
America and them clashed. They clashed. And I'm telling you, the root of why this clashing happened, why we didn't see each other with open arms. You didn't give me open arms, I didn't give you open arms. Why was that? Why was that when two Spanish people from two different countries, but they speak the same language and from the same heritage, they can come to America
well, I mean,
and they will band together.
Mama Vaina,
Wait, let me finish. And
yes,
they will
sorry.
band together like they knew each other from back home. And they're from two different Spanish countries, but we can't do that to each other. And I'm telling you what the disease is, why that happened in your childhood, why it happened in my childhood, even up into my adulthood. The Yankee bird doesn't go away. African booty scratcher doesn't go away.
Well,
It's
until
still being used. I just heard it the other day on one of these little YouTube channels was talking about it. How a Spanish girl said she went and dated a black guy because it's against her culture.
well, yeah.
And then the guy who was interviewing her was like, yeah, because we always used to say African booty scratcher. And so we always knew not to do that because, we called them African booty scratchers and made names, called them names. So we knew not to date them.
And then the portrayal, the visualizations of what Africans look like on the TV and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying?
Right. And even in their
So,
country, in Latin America
right. So
or
we
Latin
we
Caribbean,
have to
do you
understand
see what they
that,
see about us? Red lips, dark
right.
skin, and they're making fun.
So the colonizers, right, who just happened to be the ones who created entertainment or
Mm-hmm.
whatever, which is just one area of the system of racism, of white supremacy, which encompasses
So I'm just saying,
economics,
I think that
entertainment,
that has a lot to
education,
do
labor.
with
I
why you went through what you went through. You didn't grow up with a group of different people from the Caribbean or from Africa, and y'all all lived in harmony and respect. You know what I'm saying?
well,
You didn't grow up in that,
actually, that's not true. You know what I'm saying?
so you didn't have a total bad experience. You just in certain parts of your life
No,
it wasn't
I
good.
never said I had a total bad
No, I'm
experience.
asking.
I've had, for me,
Nobody has a
in my,
perfect childhood. I get that.
no, I know.
You
I'm
know
just
what I'm
saying
saying?
for me, for my journey, you know what I'm saying? Being born in New York, in the commercial territory, and leaving New York very young at 2, moving to Chicago. So we didn't have to explain ourselves that we're Haitian in Chicago. And then coming from a Catholic background specifically, it was just church, school, and home. What they say, they call l'église la calle, you know. And then at that time, I just knew I was black, you know what I'm saying? And yeah, there was maybe some compa in the music in the background or whatever, but there was nothing about the roots. They didn't say nothing about no Haitian Revolution. You know what I'm saying? It was hip hop that planted seeds in me. You know what I'm saying? And when I finally got on the black station tip, you know what I'm saying, R&B, all those things, you know, uh, planted seeds in me that tapped into consciousness. It's like the movies, they made you, I just had something to take root from that. In terms of the mental abuse that I got from brothers and sisters here, they would make fun of my features. So they would call me lips or street rock or, and that shit fucked me up, mentally, you know what I'm saying? And still to this day, I'm still dealing with it in certain aspects because it made me, in a certain way, a recluse or, it's,
Did you believe it was true when they said it? That it was a bad thing?
well, you already got your imaging from the general society, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So, that did damage, So now when I moved to Miami, I get a different type of You know, we get the Haitian eat cats and Haitian body odor, and boat people, and, you know. So I didn't even know there was a full blown war thing going on. And so I just went to school half a year in North Miami, Thomas Jefferson, and that was enough. You know, it was turned up where I'm like, oh, so now I'm getting this whole Haitian, quote unquote Haitian. Um, and I'm not going to use the word Haitian. I'm just using contextual
Yeah,
for that time
people
period.
are familiar with
Right, but
that
Haiti
term
or
more.
Haitian is the Haitian or Haitians is the expression that is to be used properly. Nonetheless, um, because we never called ourselves, excuse me, because we never called ourselves Haitians from Haiti. That's an adaptation because, you know, we declared ourselves as Haitians or Haitians from the Empire of Haiti. It was only afterwards we're getting the pronunciations of Haiti or Haitians or the French aspects of spelling it.
And who gave that new term?
Well, that's the thing, you know. When did those variations come along from the writing it in the HAITI format or the French writing with the HAI double dot TI, which all the words with HAI double dot in French equate to hate. Now in the Constitution, it's spelled HAYTI. And then there are also cities in the U.S. spelled HAYTI. That was 8 cities. So I spell my name AYITI. All of it is promoting the IE sound, IET.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds like IET, the letters, but it's actually IET. Haitian, or you can say Haitians, as in the HAYTIANS or AYITIANS. Within our words in Creole or Haitian, langage Haitian, the Haitian language, we have the word Aïe or Afudaï, Aïe Bobo, Aïe Dawedo, Aïe Zan, Aïe Abombe, Aïe, Aïe Aïe Aïe. So, yes, so even that Spanish variation, remember Haiti is the first nation to help what we know as Latin America come to existence. You know what I'm saying? From the DR to Gran Colombia, which ended up breaking up to Colombia, Venezuela, Peru, and the rest of those nations. You know, so this is why it's important to contextually understand why the Haitian Revolution is important, because it pretty much, like COVID, it changed everything. And so for us to get a better foundation, because it wasn't just for enslaved people or for highly melanated people, we did it for, although that's a primary, you know, foundation, it was for all oppressed people in the world. And most importantly, the nuclear family. You know, it was represented with the nuclear family as um, what defeated those energies. So we have a fusion, a culture, a little fusion of Africans and original indigenous people. And the word Aboriginal, even though I've used it, even in my song, her real name is Haiti, not Haiti, I've used it. And I've used it specifically for marketing purposes because it's got popular. You know, to kind of try to keep our people in line, because I see we're splitting ourselves up and dividing and all these things. And it's just like, yo, we need to kind of like, at this moment in time, you know what I'm saying, kind of stay rooted with, you know, unifying to one something, you know what I'm saying? Because even with the word black, they're trying to be like, oh, well, black means death, you know, according to the Moors. And
right.
Legally speaking, with legalese, and I get
it might be right.
I get you
and
with
that might be right
no,
too, but
no, I agree with that. However,
it's still not getting them exactly what they want.
Well,
but I understand why they don't
look at it.
use
Let's
it.
look at it a little bit deeper. You know what I'm saying? In terms of black, you know what I'm saying? That's all the carbon. You know, 6 protons, 6 neutrons, 6 electrons, 666. is that blackness, that triple black. You know what I'm saying? That most of the world, what we know is exist is dark matter. You know what I'm saying? So we come out of that, and all the colors come out of blackness. You know what I'm saying? Melanin, carbon, that's the building block of all life. You know what I'm saying? So, and then there's certain functions and different things that melanin and carbon can do. That's why we can eat sunlight. That's how you melanin. Everybody else can eat sunlight, but they can't eat it like how we eat it. Like Dr. Africa says in his video on YouTube, we are different. Google it. Hour-long presentation, excellent breakdown of melanin. He says how black people have never been invited to melanin conferences. And that just shows you the racist attitude about that particular body of information. And we're not going to invite you.
So how do you feel about the fact that people are saying Tameri is in America?
Well, there is. Well, I want to go back to the.
And saying the Mississippi River is the Nile River.
Well, I want to go back to finishing the Aboriginal aspect because that's important for us to understand. So I have used it marketingly. However, it's incorrect. You know what I'm saying? Because AB is of something, as in abnormal.
Yeah.
So if there's original, why would we? I'm gonna just put one.
That's good.
All right. If there's original, and you have
that's something that's original.
Well, as Delbert Blair reminds us, you know what I'm saying, and I'm actually going to share something that Delbert Blair.
I love Delbert Blair.
He breaks down. And I've heard this definition before I even started.
He's absolutely right. Because when you think about it,
right.
It's like opposite of being the real deal.
Right. And so when people started, that's why in my song Tameri, I say East Coast, West Coast, copper melanin all over the globe, black and in, blue, black and cold, many shades of copper tones, as above, even so below, and more connected than we choose to know. We eat sunlight like plants can grow. Superman, superwoman for sure. Amani CNIE, Bobo, the one and only 1804. Original, aboriginal, our unity and strength is critical. The Khoisan the earth's first people. Autochthonous indigenous that we know. Set up City, set up Tameri in the Mayan calendar all over the globe. Pukisanu Ainu, Pukisanu Ainu, Pukisanu Vajete Globe, Evolution Family no Abaco Globe, Papu Change Mantamayo, Mighty Moon, Sanskito, Mighty Sali, Spiritual, Potenyo, Aiwogo. So I said original, aboriginal. Our unity and strength is critical. So no matter what you claim, you know what I'm saying? I'm aboriginal, I'm original. The thing is we have to work together, regardless. So
what's the common denominator? We
right.
got the same common denominator.
So understanding the source, understanding the source is critical. You know what I'm saying? And that's where we're at. So let me let Brother Delbert cook real quick.
We want to take Oregon out here to this government and research scientists because Oregon means original. It's organic. It's orgasm. It's organic. It's organic people. And of course, they refer to those kind of people as original people. But the last thing they want you to understand is who the original people are and why the original people are and where the original people are and when the original people came. None of that will they teach you. But you do hear a word that's used a lot. It's called aboriginal. Never use that word aboriginal if you are indigenous to the planet. Why? Because
Notice
it
how you
means
say
to
indigenous
abhor
to the
the
planet.
original person. Aboriginal means to abhor the original. To abhor means to hate, to envy, to covet, to dislike. Consequently, the word
What's going on
aboriginal
right now?
means that you have a dislike for the original person. And the original person, of course, is a person with melanin. It's proven so many times now that if necessary, I won't spend the time with an audience like you to go into that, but nevertheless.
So that was Brother Delbert giving us a very clear definition of, so like I said again before, just to kind of, we go fishing, we throw a little something out there, people hear the word, and they can, But yeah, original is, and it's taxed to organic, orgasm,
Original.
ORG, you know what I'm saying? So the org energies, that's the divine creators. That's the way the creator wants us to live. The anti-nature energies they're pushing right now are just that. They're anti-nature. Now, Smaitawi is the unity of the two lands. And I'll also say two hemispheres, since we're talking from this perspective. And we can look at it from the brain, we can look at it as above, so below, but it's Smaitawi historically, it's the unity of the two lands. Tameri, what we know is also known as Kemi, Ta meaning land, Mary meaning love, the beloved land.
And it's not in America.
Yes. And Taseti, meaning land of the boat. Ta meaning land and Seti meaning boat. Taseti, which is Kush, Ethiopia, Sudan. So Tameri and Taseti, Smaitawi, the unity of those two lands, became that union. Smaitawi metaphysically is the union of the higher self and the lower self. And you'll see aspects of Set and Haru, and you'll have someone in the middle, which essentially represents you. It's showing the complementarity of the two. We've been taught the extremes only, and so a lot of people go to one extreme or another extreme, not understanding that they actually work together in harmony and in unison. So, we're just looking at something good or something bad when it's actually both. You know what I'm saying? It's ultimately about my divine balance of the two. Smaitawi, spiritually and symbolistically, is the symbol of the lungs and the trachea. And that symbol is found on the side of the king's throne, the Subiti's throne, with the Neter and Hapi, who is the name of the Nile. So if the Mississippi is the Nile, the ancient Kemetic had a deity named Hapi. And you will see Hapi with either the papyrus flower on one side and then the lotus flower on the other. And you'll see that symbol on the side of the Nusut Biti, the king's throne. So that goes to show you that Smaitawi yoga and the breath were central to the existence of what we know as the Happy Valley. So coming out of the interior of Merita, which is Tameri in reverse, which is one of the more ancient names for Africa. This is all Medu Neter, or Medu Mait, as the earth, the African speaking and living Kemetic or Tamarines, ancient Egyptians that exist, and they actually set up schools in America via the way of the Dogon. As the Dogon High Priest, Master Nava, was given permission to come to the Western Hemisphere and let the Americans know that they exist. So the fact that that's not even a conversation brothers and sisters here are using the word Tameri, and you have it all rooted in everything over there where the people actually speak Medu still the language, and you're claiming that all of a sudden that they're not the knowledge keepers or whatever, based off of the information you're getting. Are you sure that the information you're getting is not designed to switch you into another mode of thinking, especially since slavery has never ended in America? If I was a colonizer and a slave, and I know that my group of slaves didn't really get free, you know what I'm saying? And I know that, if Africa is the source, number one from the gate, because
Right.
Africa got great first, and it's only been like 500 years that you have all this stuff going on, how would I be able to manipulate? Why would I tell you as my slave that you're great all over the world
And here's your
to
reparations.
boost your confidence? Why would I do that? And then Tameri, Kemet, is the Masonic capital of the world. So this is the place that everybody in the world came to go to school at. You know what I'm saying? You'll find the Abrahamic religions in existence the Abrahamic religions came later. By Christianity, Islam, Judaism, the earth is only 6,000 years old. You're talking about a people that dealt with a 25,900 year calendar, sidereal calendar. You have a calendar that's what the Olmec Mayans use. That's their calendar. So you have calendars in both hemispheres being used. So you're showing a cultural continuity of knowledge and wisdom, and then you have a spirituality that's set, which aligns with that calendar, which aligns with the pyramids, which aligns with Bible verses, such as "Seeketh him that maketh the seven stars of Orion." You know what I'm saying? That's Amos. I'm not here. Amos 8. But that's there, and there's actually
and we
pyramids.
know of Orion's belt. Mm-hmm.
And then, just on some astrotheological, every November winter solstice, that the story of Asar Aset Haru, the Asarian resurrection, plays out astrotheologically first. So, how are they able to document and record their way of life? Because they were doing that because everybody wasn't around.
Yes.
And if everybody wasn't around and they're the ones with this body of knowledge, you have two apex pyramid building civilizations side by side as mother and child. And you, all of a sudden, brothers and sisters here want to be like, oh, Africa don't count. Africa's not the source. No, that's some, we trying to pimp you type stuff, you know what I'm saying? Because any one of you ninjas, you know what I'm saying, unify is a problem. That's why IET is a problem. It's like, oh shit, the only people on the planet, these slaves, or excuse me, proper term, the prisoners of war, you know what I'm saying, were able to successfully, defeat us. And what IETians, what Africans and Americans have to realize is the Haitian Revolution was an African American revolution. Because our culture is a fusion of African and American spirituality and culture. And that's what we did. And we'll find these fusions not only in IET, but all the successful, more powerful revolutions or struggles were based off of that. Mm-hmm. And we see that in Quilombos, you know what I'm saying, in Brazil. We see that in Cuba with the Lupuni. You know what I'm saying? We see that in the VI. We see that here in the States with John Horse and, other resistance movements. So, us working together was a benefit. You know what I'm saying? Because the colonizer was colonizing. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Them codes was real. Like, you couldn't be on the beach in the 60s past sundown. Because niggas, they didn't ask you if you were a Moor or if you're African or if you're this or you're that. They just saw a nigga. And so, it's very important for us to understand the root essence of things. I want to read something real quick. The Anu, the Twa, mislabeled pygmies are not only one of Earth's first peoples, they are the progenitors of Happy Valley civilization. So Congo, who's being genocided right now, is the source of Happy Valley civilization. And there's a deity named Happy. So I know they're equating the whole Mississippi River. You gotta understand, when you look at the continent of Africa, it's upside down. The further south you go is actually the more elevated that you're getting to. So to get to where they dwelled at, you got to go higher in the mountains.
Yeah,
So-
because in Ethiopia, those Abbas, oh, they're climbing, rock climbing basically, without the equipment type
Yeah.
of climbing to get
Right.
into the
How did
high
you
elevation
know, right.
inside the rocks.
You had to be tapped into something to be doing that. So this is I forget where we got this from. I have to read. I'm going to read it. High culture. It says African people in world history. High culture of Tameri, Nubia, that reached in the first zenith before the original foreign invaders of Africa called Hyksos or Shepherd Kings of Livonia in ca. 1675 BCE, the 18th, 13th dynasty, conquered the Delta region of Egypt and East Africa. It is unfortunate that so much history of Africa has been written by conquerors, missionaries, and adventurers. Fortunately, the Egyptians left the best record of their own history. It was not until their near end of the 18th century when a few European scholars learned to decipher their writing that this was understood. For example, the highly respected Papyrus of Nefer in the Egyptian Book of the Dead, coming forth by day and night, also known as the Book of the Dead, documented the southern African origin of ancient Egyptians. We came from the beginning of the Nile River, where the god Hapi dwells at the foothills of the mountain of the moon. Kilimanjaro between Kenya and Tanzania, or Mount Rwenzori in Uganda. The Nile Valley's first age of high culture grandeur lasted until the eve of the Christian era. So that's when Tameri fell. The 25th dynasty was ruled. It was a Tameri
at the end
civilization.
of the Christian.
And guess who ruled the 25th dynasty? Ta Seti, their mother. Because every time Tameri was falling, it was Ta Seti who established Tameri in the first place would come and restore order. And that's what they did. And they eventually ended up losing to the Assyrians and retreated back to Ethiopia, Sudan. And this is where we can see the sprinkling of the Orthodox
Kenya,
Christianity.
Uganda.
Right, but we see the Orthodox Christianity still in effect. You know what I'm saying? And then throughout the spiritual systems of the continent, you see the cultural continuity of not only the Kemetic culture, but with the different spiritual systems. So being that Kemet was the place of learning for all people, you had the Abrahamic religions. You had Buddhism, Jainism, Taoism, Taoism. You had Vodou. You had the Dogon. You had the Akan. You had the Ashanti. You had Ifa, Yoruba. Yeah, I already said Vodou. So you have all these spiritual systems that are interconnected. And then we just talked about yoga, which is a missing piece to all of this.
Mm-hmm.
You will find Olmec yogic figures in Nefertiti, in the lotus. You'll find Indian yogic figures in the lotus. You'll find Bantu Congo figures in the lotus. You'll find Kemetic, Tamarian figures in the lotus. In fact, the Neter, or the deity for the lotus flower, is called Nefertiti, a beautiful completion, a beautiful creation. And so, with that said, you know, the cultural continuity that comes from the continent cannot be ignored. You know what I'm saying? And since the children in Congo are suffering right now, they stealing in the Congo. Yeah, That song is called Silent Sounds on YouTube. Silent Sound on YouTube. Shout out to my Jamaican brother Alex, who got on there. That was done pre Hurricane Melissa and pre ending of the war in Gaza.
Mm-hmm.
So right before the so-called peace treaty took place, where 60 rabbis, I think they did block the Brooklyn Bridge, and then shortly after that, the so-called peace treaty thing was announced. But 4 years prior to that, I was involved in. I was the sixth man to help block the Brooklyn Bridge. Brooklyn Bridge 6 were the Ishans in Texas that came 20,000, 30,000 strong, walked 3 months from South America due to the fact that the $14 billion from the 2010 Haiti earthquake aid really never made it to the people. Had 1 billion, 5 billion, 3 billion made it to the people, they would have gone home. Haiti wouldn't even be in your conversation about people in Haiti doing Haiti. You know what I'm saying? Even Haitians here wouldn't even be here. Trust. However, that's not really disclosed to the American public. You know what I'm saying? But just recently we discovered that Haiti's in the Epstein file 400 times. Just recently we found out that, well, not just recently, but it's been said that the Clinton Foundation, and, you know, they're messing around with the funds, you know, like all of that. So, you know, the fact that you had Democratic entities, you know what I'm saying, that have been involved with doing this crazy things to Ishans, and Ishans is just like, you know, the KKK was founded by the Democrats, you know what I'm saying, slave trade, the 1915 invasion, you know, there's two wings in one bird, you know what I'm saying. So the original Republicans were actually black. This is why you see the Underground Railroad movements and all these things were kind of in alignment with that ideology, but then that got hijacked and took over too. So a lot of things get hijacked, even the LGBTQ thing. The feminism, it started off, and you know, the whole feminism thing was Roe versus Wade, you know, which gassed up a whole bunch of women to think that, and I'm not speaking ill to anyone that's been abused or sexual abuse, because that is an issue, you know what I'm saying, but it's not spoken about in a balanced way, you know what I'm saying, like women don't sexually abuse men or boys, and that's farthest from the truth, you know, this is not talked about. And in a society where the highest form of love is man to boy love, according to the Greco-Roman classical civilizations, right now you have the church, you know what I'm saying, who was the military, you know what I'm saying, who went around and conquered the world, and they just happen to have an affinity for little boys and children, you know what I'm saying. And just like with the Epstein file, we're finding out other people, other colonizers, who happen to just run the world, you know what I'm saying. They're into that stuff, eating children, and adrenochrome, and all these diabolical, sexually deviant things. So this has been the energy that's been running the world. Like the Haitian Revolution, again, you know, they were doing those things above ground. What things did you say they were doing above ground when they had that type of control? And they went and took that stuff underground. So Thomas Jefferson didn't want the importation of slaves here to the Americas no more because of the Haitian Revolution. You know, they had a good thing going on, so they just took it underground. And so, you know, the whole world is dealing with the cycle of sexual abuse. Mentally, physically, and spiritually, at different levels and different degrees. You know what I'm saying? Everybody's been kicked in by people that established a system of this type of energy or behavior. Or the energy itself is of that behavior. And that's what the anti-nature provokes. That's what the transhumanism promotes. You know, people are turning cold. They're not turning harmonious. They're not tuning into their being stuck in their little box in the AC and in their little gated community or whatever, they're not connecting with nature, hugging trees, getting sunlight, getting enough oxygen to the brain, drinking enough water, getting enough rest. You know, just really, we're children of nature. All the elements of the earth are within us. And, we're getting food that's not full of nutrients or demineralized. So if we're not doing things to supplement those things, then what are we turning into? Dr. Masuri Emoto showed us what we're turning into with his test with the water consciousness and memory with 2 glasses of water.
Mm-hmm.
When he wrote hate on one and love on the other. He
Yeah.
froze it, went under the microscope.
Water.
The glass that had hate turned into dark, murky, ugly, unformed water and shapes.
Even the snowflakes.
You know what I'm saying? The glass that had
the
love
most
turned
beautiful
into
snowflakes.
sacred geometrical shapes. So she's talking about the snowflake, which is the 6, by the way. He did the same thing with B2. Froze it, went under the microscope, glass that had he used heavy metal for the low vibration, classical music for the high. Heavy metal, the glass turned into dark, murky, ugly, unformed water and shapes. Classical music, sacred geometrical shapes. We're made out of 70 to 90% water. So if we're like, fuck, bitch, ho, 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 nigga. Although there can be flipped on 2 sides with it, but that's another conversation. And hate it. My Haitian. What are we turning into? What? Look at where we're at right now. You know what I'm saying? Because we're not vibrating with the highest energy that we can be vibrating. And yes, they got to tell us about our truth, but they're not going to tell us in its most truthful manner. They're just going to give us the limited manner. That's why 1804 was a limited movie. It was a great effort, and we get thanks for it. But it was lacking the fact that IT was founded as an empire. And I'm sure between Mama Vaina Bello and Ezeli Dunto, you know what I'm saying? These are my 2 masters. These are the 2 women that raised me. And that's why I changed my name from Haiti Blues to IT Blues, because of these 2 women. So the fact that it wasn't addressed, because she says, independent of any other power in the universe. Well, what it says in the Constitution is independent of any other power in the universe under the name Empire of Haiti. So, I'm not sure with the editing process if that was cut out, or I'm sure it's in some form within those 2 women speaking, who are not the primary 2 authority women that speak on IET in the national sense, because our own Haitian people don't put them out there like how they're supposed to. Because if they did, we'd be vibrating under a different consciousness and a different understanding of ourselves. I used to do that. Haiti, the first Black Republic. Haiti. I was Haiti Blues. You know what I'm saying? And then I found out I read the Constitution. And Mama Vaina said, don't call it what other people are calling it. Call it any other name but that. And so that's why I started doing the transformation from Haiti to Haiti. So now I barely use Haiti. You know what I'm saying? If I have to, contextually speaking or whatever, I'll use it. But I'm giving the energy to the Ai energy. Aiza is a patron noir of commerce and business. The palm tree is a sacred tree. Even Christians can agree that the palm tree is a sacred tree. They worship Palm Sunday, which all of that is coming from Kemetic science. And I just showed you something about the Kemetic origins of the Palm Sunday. You know what I'm saying? So the palm...
Isn't that coming up soon?
It just happened.
Oh, it just happened. Okay.
Right. So Easter is coming up.
Yeah.
Good Friday.
Good Friday.
Right. So, that's my background. I was a Catholic altar boy. Unfortunately, I wasn't altered when these people locked me in the closet as a child.
Wow. In the Catholic Church.
In school, yes.
They locked you in the closet.
Yes.
For what?
I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Now, as an adult, retrospect, looking back with all of this child sex trafficking and activity, you have 300,000 immigrant children that went missing when Sleepy Joe was in office, and nobody said nothing about that. So initially, I thought IET was the main hub of child sex trafficking, and then I discovered because of President Trump making me do research, and he called out Hillary in 2016 and his going to the selection, and he started talking about the Clinton Foundation and child sex trafficking. I was like, what? You said those two things? And it made me do research, and so my initial thought of IET being the main hub, I came to find out that over here is the main hub. You know what I'm saying? IET is a hub, but it's not the main hub of that. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, 300,000 immigrant children went missing. 2,000 children in the Hawaii fires went missing. I mean, black women and children go missing. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So
they say Atlanta is very high too.
Right. So there's plenty of
missing children.
Right. So all of these things is like with all of this technology, so-called, somebody knows something. Well, I would think the people that have an affinity for children and deviant sexual behaviors would know. And the main people that have a track record of that is the church and the Epstein class, which is a trickle down to all the way down to the bottom. So in order for you to get to the top, you got to do Epstein class type stuff. You know what I'm saying? Of there. And so all those people that have been abused, you know what I'm saying? You have literally children from the Epstein files speaking up. They're victims. You know what I'm saying? Now we caught it. You know, look her up, y'all. She's like, yo, we can get out for COVID. We can get out for immigration. We can get out for no kings. We can do all this stuff, but what about the children? And I'm in the file. She's like, don't worry about me. The children, the children, the children. So what about the children, y'all? Why aren't we speaking about the children? And all of that is tied into what the Haitian Revolution was about. You know, it wasn't just tyrants, despots, and slavers that we were dealing with. You're dealing with child and human sex traffickers. That's what we defeated with the will of the Supreme Being. So they want to be like, you know, Haiti made a pact with the devil, but the devil itself that eats and abuses children didn't say nothing. But the people that got free and liberated themselves, and they did it with Boukman's prayer, which Boukman's prayer, when you understand Boukman's prayer and you really listen to what Boukman's prayer is saying, it's hard to even deny that, like, this is evil that's being said. Boukman's prayer says, the God who created the earth, who created the sun that gives us light. Without sun, we don't have anything. COVID-19. The Europeans, Asians, and Arabs got sick due to lack of vitamin D sunlight. Black people in America got sick a little bit more due to lack of vitamin D sunlight. Indigenous Africans were children. Haitians were children. Herbs and sunlight. That's why 5 African presidents, during that critical time while they were trying to get the whole world to take the clock shot, Fauci, and the Haitian president, who actually went on TV and said, you know, on WPLG, like, we have herbs. We don't need the vaccine. I've seen them. They just happen to be unalive in 2021. However, the narrative for COVID-19 shifted because the people stood up. Not enough black people stood up, but the black people I was around, because I was there in the vaccine protest, we stood up. And the whole world was standing up at that time. Just like how the No Kings thing and whatever, they were like, but they were probably more beat up because they did not want the clock shot. But the television or the corporate media wasn't in the same thing about that. That's why they always called everybody else telling with the clock shot terrorists. Or the so-called conspiracy theorists. Well, right now we're seeing that the so-called conspiracy theorists are correct on a lot of things. Especially with COVID. Talk to your friends, family, and coworkers we labeled them as crazy. 5.5 billion people took what was supposed to be a vaccine, marketed as a vaccine, but it's an actual gene therapy. You can look up the documentary Died Suddenly on Rumble.com, which came out in November of 2022. In the fall of 2022, the same day I got arrested blocking the Brooklyn Bridge, which my intention was not to be there for Aishin's blocking the Brooklyn Bridge. That was a transmission that came last minute that Sunday in the text. So I was like, all right, I'm going to pass you there in the AM. And then in the evening, in the afternoon, we had the NYC Walkout 2 Teachers Rally, No Vaccine, No Mandate protest, which started in Lower Manhattan. So I opened up for that. You know what I'm saying? Turned out to be a march on the street after we finished there, and then we took it to Times Square. You know, I ended up performing an additional 10 minutes with the Empire of IET flag, with my Desaline shirt, and my black and red bandana. Black and red flag, black and red flag. Epic stuff, IET. IETians was out there. And so you have to ask yourself, how come IETians don't know about that? Because even with the Brooklyn Bridge 6, which we're talking about immigration, just like with the cat eating thing, how that was debunked. We didn't really hear any stories or any apologies from our Black American brothers and sisters concerning that, because the younger generation is just catching this version, not understanding that prior to that, you know, their forefathers and foremothers were, you know, operating in a certain way. You know what I'm saying? And that's where I think the things get blurred, because certain things weren't passed on. Nonetheless, the Haitian Revolution is you know, it wasn't just for melanated people, it's for all of humanity. So with this anti-nature energy that's attacking all of humanity, right now humanity has to stand up, because COVID-19 is the launch of the transhumanism agenda. And those shots that people took, ever since people took those shots, the coroners died suddenly. When you watch Died Suddenly, it's about an hour long. So the coroners are speaking, and they're showing, and they're telling you. So you trying to understand what's going on now, that's a great indicator to watch so you can move forward. If you did take the clot shot, some people say there aren't remedies.
You could detox it out your body.
Right, but
you have to do a serious detox.
Yeah, no, it's a serious detox. There's different protocols people recommend or whatever. But once you start tapping into that, you'll find those people. You know what I'm saying? If you need references, you know, there's a website called Informed African American Blogspot. You can Google it, and it'll come up. I just happen to be a part of that. Shout out to Noah Felder, Father Jack Felder. Did a lot of critical work in exposing the AIDS.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Shout out to 125th Street. Critical areas spreading knowledge, information. Black Magic 363, Sinetta. Our brothers and sisters in Brooklyn also was a hub. Yeah, so, you know, we're in this age of information, and, you know, we have to be mindful that they are aware that we're ushering in an awakening. So they're also doing things to muddy things. You know, so just like now. So this is why it's so important for us to get context, so we can have a better clarity, you know, on what's been going on. So if Congo, you know what I'm saying, if we're not saying anything for Congo, and they're the main ones that's allowing us to communicate right now, what is that saying for us? And it's not to take away anything that we're experiencing here, because it's very important for, and I tell my Haitian people that all the time, you know what I'm saying, as an Haitian American. It's very important for us to understand what Black America has been going through. I wrote a song about how slavery never ended in America. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people haven't listened to that song. You got an Haitian American speaking about how slavery never ended in America. How many people do you know make a song like that? So that's something that can educate all of us. 44 days and 44 nights. Slavery never ended in America. Yeah, right. 13th Amendment checking. Let's organize our minds. We educate ourselves when it's ancient. It's time. 44 days and 44 nights. Racism never ended in America. Yeah, right. 13th Amendment checking. Let's organize our minds. We educate our children. It's ancient. It's time. Hegelian dialectic. Problem reaction solution. We heard the 911 tapes of Trayvon Martin shooting, yet they want to cloud the air with conjecture and confusion. Like we the people, they call sheep that naive and stupid. 44 days of fronting, we wear amass illusions. Black boys still being hunted, and it's not going to abuse it. What's the solution to this pollution of this post-racial self? Knowing that self is liberation to break free of our spells, though some of us mad as hell. Then we want to rebel. We must rechannel the energy and be productive and build the sex and science, we economics, generational wealth. You know how ancient African history has shaped this world. Took the masses to jail. We get Zimmerman cage, racism, white supremacy is yet to be fully explained. In order for justice to be served, it starts with our mental state. Acknowledgement is often key, and so we all got to change how we think. Yes, y'all. So 44 days. You can Google that. IET movies, AYITI, it's on Bandcamp. When you Google my name, you'll find me maybe on Bandcamp and SoundCloud and YouTube. Come May 25th, African Liberation Day, the day of the George Floyd PSYOP, psychological operation. No shade to George Floyd. You know, we just have to understand that we get used in grand manipulation, Hollywood live type of situations. So that's what that was, you know what I'm saying? So we gotta understand that it was all to help get certain bills promoted and passed to push the transhumanism agenda. The transgender push at that time that came from that energy. And people not understanding what Black Lives Matter represented. Black Lives Matter org. Black Lives do matter, you know what I'm saying? But Black Lives Matter org was an idea or that got hijacked as well and funded, where you had lesbian feminists, I believe with Small Hat, fathers or connections, pretty much telling us that Black women, that you don't need the man. So it was this whole push of, you know, just woman and child. And in their mission statement, you know, they talk about destroying the nuclear family. And unfortunately, that's what feminism is pushing. It's the destruction of that. So, well, a lot of sisters have gotten, you know what I'm saying, they've been groomed. We've all been groomed in different ways and in different levels. So as Black people, especially in America, being the greatest married, it's only as of recently you're seeing, well, ever since the 50, 60 years of I don't need no man, you know what I'm saying, and just be independent, INDEPENDENT, you know what I'm saying, you know, these are all strategic things to bring forth destruction of the family unit and to help usher in a different family unit for an ordered new world or new world order agenda. And so COVID-19, shout out to Brother Siddiqui Bakari. He's a brother that's been well ahead of what a lot of the transhumanism talk that you hear. He's written an abundant books on it. You can Google it, Siddiqui Bakari. You can YouTube. And he's definitely an authority on this subject. There's a woman by the name of Jennifer Bielick. She was a feminist, actually, who ended up writing an article, Billionaires Behind the COVID-19. You check her out, Jennifer Bielick. She also has a book called Transhumanism, Transsexual, and Transcendence. So all of this is tied into COVID-19. Again, with COVID-19, you see since then many people have developed blood clots, death overages have been through the roof, haven't gone down. You have heart attacks, strokes, pericarditis, myocarditis, which means dealing with the young athletes, tightening of the chest, aneurysms, pulmonary embolisms, heart attacks, heart attacks, AIDS. We see this whole thing with the sexual diseases going crazy. I mean, of course, a lot of it has to do with the sexual activity in the music and the conditioning of the hypersexualization of society. But we also have to understand that aspect with the COVID. So eventually what people are taking is clotting their blood and forming all of these fibrous materials. So essentially what happens is your DNA is being replaced and you're becoming a transmittable, trackable being. So they gave us people concentrated dose with that during the COVID shot with the intention of having everybody taking it. But since that didn't happen like that, they've been putting in the food, meats, producing food, produce with it, aerosolizing the chemtrails. They're just doing all type of stuff. So we may not be getting it in concentrated forms like people did the clot shot, but people are getting it. So we need to constantly stay detoxing and especially be aware of that information of what it's doing so you can better take care of yourselves and your family. So just because you may have taken a shot, you don't have to feel bad or anything like that. Don't be upset at the people that didn't take the shot either. You know what I'm saying, for expressing themselves, because that was a tour.
You didn't take it.
That was a tour of duty itself.
They said we had to take it, so I just took it.
I mean,
And I'm like, nah.
The moment it came out,
They said it can fold.
the moment it came out, you knew something was wrong with it. You know what I'm saying? So there ain't no amount of money or whatever, that would be to take that.
Right.
And especially when you do the research and find out, it's like, oh snap. So
My dad took it. And him and his wife been in the hospital a few times since they took it.
Look, everybody knows somebody that
They've been in the hospital for COVID. I'm like, but I thought you got the shot. I did. So why you still keep getting COVID?
Right. So those
Somebody on the airplane had it, but you got the shot, so you wasn't supposed to catch it.
and that's why it's important for us to watch that Died Sunday documentary.
If you're getting the shot and you're still getting COVID, that should tell you something.
Indeed. And the main thing they told us to get during that time was oxygen and sunlight. And that's why the kinetic yoga that we've been doing has pretty much trained us to be to know the importance of oxygen and sunlight. I do a lot of classes on the beach, particularly during the pandemic. I was teaching a real hot kinetic yoga during that time, so I was outside with all kind of people, and I was chilling while everybody was every few minutes in the sun. You know what I'm saying? So during that time, I got verification. Oh shoot, it's 7:38. I gotta go yoga class. Let me close out. All right. So let me just close out. Yeah. So one deep conscious breath at a time. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
As crazy as things seem, we are in a spiritual time of great awakening. There is a shift of consciousness taking place. And especially because of the stance that the people took during COVID, we see that shift happening for real. Because people are not trusting the mainstream media like they did. They're going to independent media.
Mm-hmm.
And independent media is where it's at. So again, your friends, family, and coworkers, those were your people that were plugged into independent media. So they have the resources and information for you. So talk to them, ask them questions. Like they tell this class, it's okay to ask questions. You don't have to feel less for asking questions.
Exactly.
And those brothers and sisters that didn't take the shot, do your best to be compassionate. We all have to be compassionate. As maybe upset we could have been at that time or whatever. And, I told you so. It's not really that time. Although we did tell you so. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So you can't be that upset about them. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, let's mend those fences, and because humanity has to get themselves together. Because during COVID, an important thing people have to understand is the pandemic treaty, where over 200 nations amassed to have the World Health Organization give up their sovereignty. And that would have effectively, they could have labeled anything a pandemic. So there are multiple ways that they try to bring forth these agendas to weaken the masses and the people. And the people have to understand that they call the people sheeple. So, unfortunately, we have people that are compromised, or whatever, and they do what they do. So it's important for the people to be in awareness of what's going on locally, nationally, and globally.
Mm-hmm.
So your local, national, and global, and spiritual. And although the Bible is used as a weapon of mass destruction, as are all the religions, they still have wisdom in them, and the wisdom in them is still applicable in many ways. And it's a copy of ancient texts and sources that predated it. So if those ancient texts and sources are saying something else, you can't be upset that that's what that was saying. So a lot of things that they're calling satanic or demonic, they're just actually the perverted aspects. The Ankh is not just a symbol of life, eternal life. By itself, it can also symbolize the woman's womb. The vaginal shaft, fallopian tubes, or the eggs and the womb. Our ancestors spoke with symbols first. That's why the Medu Neter, the sacred words of the divine, i.e. hieroglyphics, which Africans still speak today, is important. And shout out to our brothers and sisters here that tapped into the Medu Neter. You know what I'm saying? Dr. Ben, Yosef Ben Yachanan, a Falasha Jew, who Dr. Drusilla G. Houston, Dr. George D.M. James, Dr. Heinrich Clark, John Heinrich Clark, Dr. Chancellor Williams. All those brothers and sisters, Ashra Kwesi.
And they never said that Tameri was in America, right?
No, everything was showing, you're showing the genesis from the continent spreading out. And again, this is why the cultural continuity is so important. If you're going to say the Mississippi River is the the Nile River, then, and it's not to say that couldn't have happened, but at least, again, we're not looking at it from Africa as being the source first. You're just trying to turn everything and just make everything start from here first when the people still exist over there in abundance, even though they're being depopulated. But the story is not just them, it's all throughout the continent. Africa is a vast continent, which can fit many North Americas inside of it. So, yes, let's take that in consideration. Some of these things you'll hear again with me because it's just my journey. Um, but we're only here to restore my eye, bring divine balance within ourselves, families, and others. You know what I'm saying? Because even white folks, white folks being called niggas too. There's a group of people that look at everybody as niggas. You know what I'm saying? They use a different term. So, those are the people that's been running the world. So, the world has to understand how they've been groomed, and we gotta stand up for the children. It all starts with the children. The number one commodity in the slave trade, they ain't gonna tell you, but that was the children. So let's be compassionate for your children, telling you certain things. Listen to your sons, daughters. It's not just a woman thing. Men don't speak on a lot of things. In order for them to get that bag, how many of them sacrifice? That part is not talked about. And, he's looked at less because he doesn't have that. Giving up your manhood. So,
until next time.
Wendy,
tomorrow at 8:30, I'm going to be streaming again. We can probably pick up from.
I'm not sure if I'm available. We'll see.
Well,
we
not with you. This is with another brother friend of mine.
Oh, okay.
I'm just saying,
Oh, for everybody. Yes.
Yeah.
Pull up tomorrow, y'all.
I don't know if you're available or not, but we'll be on.
Real talk in the building. You know what I'm saying? Keep your heart light as a feather, y'all. And make sure you hug yourself daily. Get sunlight and oxygen. Learn how to breathe properly. And do your yoga, yo. I'm not a yogi. You were born a yogi. What are you talking about? We all came out of our mother's wombs naturally doing yoga moves. Most importantly, breathing properly from the nostrils and the diaphragm. That's why children have all this energy, because they're getting oxygen directly to the cells. And what's the quickest way for us to boost our immune system? What's the first thing they check if we go to the hospital? Vitals. Oxygen. We don't have no oxygen, ain't nothing going on. We don't have no sunlight. We ain't got nothing going on. So they want to tell people that want to get oxygen and sunlight and stretching and just doing natural stuff that babies do. They want to say that that's evil and satanic and demonic. Get their evil children. Yeah. Come on, y'all. Get your stretching and breath on. I guarantee. Well, come get a class with us. You know what I'm saying? Come get some comedic yoga. Yoga in general, but comedic yoga, Smaitavi is a whole, IET earthquake approved. One of our yoga instructors survived earthquake and healed himself. And people healed themselves from asthma, suicides, stress. Shoot, I was in COVID-19 with it. You know what I'm saying? So, during COVID-19, the children got sick fleas. Why? Because they were breathing properly. So your breath is the greatest currency on this planet. It's the bag, the cash, and the crypto. The original healing currency and energy flow. So stretch and breathe. The babies are reminding us what we need to do. And when we do that, we will see that the breath in and our stretch is our fountain of healing. So let's do that, man. You're going to be walking upright when you're older. You're like, oh, you're 51? Which is a 6, by the way.
Yeah, I'm 51, by the way.
Yeah, which is, and they're like, you don't look it. Like, I played ball with his younger brother the other day, holding his back, wheezing. I'm like, yo, man, what are you doing, man? Like, you're not tired? I'm like, nah, yoga. You see LeBron running up and down the court? Do he look like he's tired yet? Yoga. People get mad at me sometimes because they heard me say something about yoga. They asked me about something else, and I'm like, yoga. Everything they keep at, I'll be like, yoga. Yeah.
Everything ends with yoga.
So they think that like, yo, you're trying to force yoga on me and stuff like that. And it's like, no, I'm not trying to force yoga on you.
It's trying to help you breathe better.
Just
and
like
stretch
you have
better.
to understand the power of yoga. You know what I'm saying? And breathing. Something so simple as that. If you don't use it, you lose it. You can't turn your head around to look behind you. Just like the cameras in the car, the different peripherals. Your eyes can do that. Everything is a copy of the human body in nature.
Yeah.
So you are that machine, man. The original. AI doesn't breathe, but you do. But that's a peace and love unto one.
Uncle Johnson Ed.
Uncle Johnson. Aibo.